Today, we're diving into a really specific, really detailed theological framework that lays out a prophesied sequence of end times events. It's a journey, one that this text says takes us from the world we see around us today all the way to a final, universal glorification. So let's get right into it.
This verse right here is pretty much the key to this entire framework. It sets up a powerful theme that our life right now is a kind of test, and how we handle what seems like very small matters today is directly connected to the responsibilities we'll be given in a much grander age to come.
So here's our roadmap. We're going to start with our current age, which this framework calls a divine sieve. Then we'll walk through two major phases of judgment, the trumpets and the bowls. We'll look at how humanity gets sorted onto three different paths, what happens when a new age finally kicks off, and then the ultimate reward and what it all means for us. Okay, let's jump into the foundational idea here. According to this source, the era we're living in right now, you could call it an age of chaos. Well, it's not just random. It's actually understood to be a divinely appointed season of testing for every single person. So, what in the world is a divine sieve? Well, the idea is that evil is allowed to exist, temporarily, for a very specific reason: to test our souls. It's a process that's meant to build up virtues like patience and perseverance. And in the end, it reveals who is genuinely ready for a future that's all about peace and justice.
Now, after this initial period of sifting and testing, things really start to intensify. This next stage is described as a series of divine warnings. They're called the Seven Trumpets, and they're designed to be a massive global wake-up call for what's on the horizon.
You can see a clear escalation here, right? It starts with things, property, nature. Then it moves directly to human life. The fourth trumpet zeroes in on our sense of material security. The fifth brings 5 months of sheer anguish. And then the sixth unleashes plagues that kill a third of who's left. But, and this is absolutely crucial, according to this text, the purpose of all this is still to warn and to correct. It's not the final destruction, not yet.
And to put the impact into perspective, the source calculates that by the time that sixth trumpet is done, the cumulative effect is just staggering. We're talking about a loss of roughly half of the entire global population.
This brings us to a huge turning point in the timeline. We're now shifting from the trumpets to the bowls. And this isn't just another set of events, it's a fundamental change in purpose. We're moving from divine correction to final, decisive judgment.
And this slide lays out the difference perfectly. The trumpets are like a blaring alarm clock, a last chance for people to wake up and repent. The bowls, though, they're for those who have hardened their hearts. The purpose is no longer about refining them, it's about the final removal of what's unrepentant.
Now, a central player in this whole final judgment phase is a figure the text calls the beast. So the big question is, who or what is this figure in this specific framework?
Yeah, this isn't some kind of mythical monster. The text describes the beast as a very human figure, a powerful businessman who rises to prominence during a major U.S. financial crisis. He basically gets a stranglehold on all the essentials, food, supplies, and creates what the text calls an economic of oppression. And anyone who willingly joins and profits from this corrupt system is said to receive a mark, showing where their loyalty lies. The 7 bowls are then poured out, and they are laser-focused on this system and the people who support it. The judgments are described as just devastating. We're talking painful sores, total ecological breakdown, and scorching heat, all of it leading to the complete and utter collapse of the beast's global economic and political empire.
So you might be wondering, who's affected by all this and why? Well, the source text answers that by basically performing a kind of spiritual triage, sorting all of humanity into 3 distinct groups.
Let's just walk through this. First, you have Class A. These are the overcomers, the ones who are fully on board with God. They ascend directly into the kingdom. Then there's Class B. These are folks who are aspiring to be godly. They're willing, but they're still struggling. They enter the next stage to be refined a bit more. And finally, you have Class C, the self-oriented. This is a mixed bag. Some are trying to repent, but others are completely hardened, and they're the ones who face that final judgment.
So after all of this judgment, this great sorting, what happens next? Well, the text describes the dawn of a brand new era, often called the millennium, a prophesied 1,000-year reign of peace. And this timeline shows that sequence really clearly. The 7th bowl hits, and the beast's oppressive system is totally destroyed in the aftermath. The earth is cleansed of all that systemic evil.
Then, a few years later, the millennium officially begins, kicking off a whole new era of restored justice and righteous rule. All right, let's bring this all home. We're going to look at the conclusion of this framework, which really focuses on two main things: the ultimate reward for the faithful, which the text calls the glorification of the saints, and, maybe most importantly, the practical lessons we're supposed to take away from this whole story. According to the source, the reward is, well, it's beyond huge. Every single good deed, even the ones nobody ever saw, is celebrated across the universe. People are reunited with their loved ones in this state of perfected joy, and they're given these incredible new roles. Some will rule over entire realms, others will literally create planetary systems, some will serve as ministers. The whole idea is that they finally get to fulfill their deepest, God-given purpose.
So why does any of this matter for us, living our lives today? The text says it comes down to three key things. First, practice active discernment. Look at world events as more than just news headlines, but as potential spiritual wake-up calls. Second, reject complicity. Take a hard look at your own life and make sure you're not profiting from systems that hurt other people. And third, cultivate what it calls an overcomer mindset. See the hardships you're facing now as a kind of divine internship, training you for future leadership.
And this really brings us to the one final, provocative question that gets to the absolute heart of this entire framework. If this age truly is a test, a season of training and preparation, what is it preparing you for?